Welcome to Intelligence Gateway.
Jenkins Certification Training Course, Lecture 8. Today we will learn about Jenkins Security and Access Control. Introduction. Understanding Jenkins Security Model. User Management and Access Control Configuration. Implementing Security Plugins. Authentication Mechanisms. Conclusion. Introduction. Welcome to our presentation on Jenkins Security Model. In today's world, security is of utmost importance and we cannot compromise on it. Jenkins Security Model is one such aspect that needs to be taken care of. With the increasing number of cyber attacks, it is important to secure your Jenkins instance from unauthorized access and data breaches. In this lecture, we will discuss the basics of Jenkins Security Model, including user management, access control configuration, implementation of security plugins, and authentication mechanisms. We will also provide tips and tricks for creating and managing user accounts, setting up access control policies, and optimizing the performance of security plugins. So, sit back, relax, and let's dive into the world of Jenkins security. Understanding Jenkins Security Model. Jenkins Security Model is an essential component of any organization's software development lifecycle. It ensures that only authorized personnel have access to sensitive data and operations. Authentication and authorization are the two main components of Jenkins Security Model. Authentication verifies the identity of users, while authorization determines what actions they can perform within the system. For example, you can use LDAP authentication to authenticate users against an external directory service, such as Active Directory. Once authenticated, you can assign users specific roles and permissions within Jenkins to control their access to various resources. User management and access control configuration. In order to ensure the security of your Jenkins environment, it is important to implement best practices for user management and access control configuration. This includes creating and managing user accounts effectively, as well as setting up access control policies that restrict access to sensitive information. One tip for creating user accounts is to use a naming convention that makes sense for your organization. This can help you keep track of who has access to what, and make it easier to manage permissions in the future. Additionally, it is important to regularly review and update user accounts to ensure that they are still necessary and have the appropriate level of access. When it comes to access control policies, it is important to define roles and permissions clearly. This can help prevent unauthorized access to sensitive information and ensure that users only have access to the resources they need to do their jobs. It is also a good idea to limit the number of administrators who have access to critical systems and to require multi-factor authentication for sensitive operations. Implementing security plugins. Implementing security plugins in Jenkins can greatly enhance the overall security of your system. By adding plugins such as the Role-Based Authorization Strategy plugin or the Credentials Binding plugin, you can ensure that only authorized users have access to sensitive information and actions. When installing and configuring security plugins, it's important to follow best practices and optimize their performance. For example, you can reduce the risk of security vulnerabilities by regularly updating your plugins and using the least privilege principle when assigning permissions. Authentication mechanisms. Jenkins supports a variety of authentication mechanisms, including LDAP, Active Directory, and SAML. Each mechanism has its pros and cons, and the choice largely depends on the organization's specific needs and requirements. LDAP provides centralized authentication and user management, making it ideal for large organizations with many users. Active Directory is similar to LDAP but is specifically designed for Windows environments. SAML, on the other hand, allows users to authenticate with their existing identity provider, such as Google or Microsoft, which can simplify the login process. However, SAML can be more complex to set up than LDAP or Active Directory. Conclusion. In conclusion, we have learned that implementing strong security measures in Jenkins is crucial to ensure the safety of your organization's data and resources. We discussed the basics of Jenkins' security model, as well as best practices for user management and access control configuration. We also explored the benefits of implementing security plugins in Jenkins and discussed different authentication mechanisms that can be used, such as LDAP, Active Directory, and SAML. By following these best practices and tips, you can significantly reduce the risk of security breaches and protect your organization from potential threats.
Thanks for watching. For more information, like, comment, and subscribe our channel.